Welcome to Shop Talk Live, episode number 330. Today it's me and Mike knocking out a bunch of questions. Let's just get right into it. So Mike, real quick, before we jump into questions, I just want to make sure that the podcast listeners know, if they're unlimited members, if they have like unsubscribed from emails or something like that, they might not be getting the emails about our issue preview live streams. So you want to tell people, what are we doing with these?
So issue preview live streams, this was your brainchild, Ben. You should be talking about this. But basically, we like the idea of doing sort of a live town hall, get together, let's hang out for a little bit. And then somehow we decided to frame that around when the issue came out, because we always like to have the issue at hand and flip through it and talk about the different articles and all that kind of stuff. So we thought, since we could deliver the digital issue to everybody early, that we could all have a group flip through and kind of check things out, learn a little bit of behind the scenes stuff. And so in the past, you and I have done it, but we've also had John Benson. Mm-hmm. Has he been on it? He's been on it.
Yeah, you were sick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so John Benson, editor on the staff, who worked on, probably 3 or 4 articles in that particular issue. So he probably told you what he ate on the road and travel delays and all that kind of stuff, or obstinate authors he had to deal with.
We didn't get into food, but John always knows where like the best martini is in town. That's all I'm going to say. So, okay. We didn't get into that, but yeah, it's always fun hearing the backstory. And so the next issue, without giving too much away, we're going to be doing the live stream, I think, December 2nd.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And the next one is going to be, Asa edited a whole mess of articles in the next issue. So Asa's going to be there. And then you were going to be there, and then you got bumped.
Yes.
By John Tatro.
Deservedly so.
Because one other thing that we've been doing is, so we've been sharing the issue early. We've been sharing, if I've got a video ready early, we've been sharing that. But another thing that we've been doing is we've been sharing full size, if you will, PDFs. Like, I think like shop posters or posters that you could, honestly, a lot of them you can put in your house, and I don't think a partner would complain about it, because they're beautiful pieces of artwork from the issues. And the next one that we're doing, John started waxing poetically about it, and it was like, no, you got to be there to talk about this one. And sorry, Mike, you're gone.
Yeah, then that's fine. Yes. So so we're taking drawings from past issues, because all of our drawings are hand drawn by fabulously creative illustrators. Bob Lapointe in the past illustrated for us for years and years. John Hartman is a great go-to now. Chris Mills, John Tetro does his own illustrations as well. Vince Babick, Dan Thornton does our tips department for us, as well as some articles. So people have just dedicated their lives to illustration, and it's such a dying art, and it's one of the things that I am most excited about still having in the magazine. So we'll pull out a drawing that is particularly cool. We'll strip off all the dimensions and text, and we'll frame it up and let you print it out as a high-quality color printout, frameable, and get it on your wall. So yeah, this one was no. Oh, sorry, never mind. Oh no. I'm incorrect. I was thinking about a different one. Yeah, this one is not John Hartman, and it has nothing to do with that. So
we'll see if I edit that out, or if it's just a teaser for.
Okay. And John Tetro is deputy art director, and he handles pretty much all the communication between the illustrators for all the art in the magazine and kind of dictates who gets what. And so he has intimate knowledge of all the stuff going on.
And he's wildly passionate about it. And he's such a fan of the other illustrators and the craft, and phenomenal woodworker, but he is enthusiastic to his core about art and illustration and woodworking, art and illustration, if you will. Yeah. So, all right. So if you are an unlimited member and you're not getting the emails, maybe you need to check your settings. I have a couple of friends who are like, hey, I haven't found out about this, but we'll also be posting it on the website and social media. So just keep an eye out. It's a fun time. We genuinely have fun with them. So it's just a hangout session. Last thing I really want to talk about kind of quick is because we're going to try and go through a bunch of questions today, Mike. We have AIM or whatever, our publisher. It's a Woodsmith e-learning course, but it is Chris from Woodsmith Shop building a CNC. And I kind of want to talk about this because it almost comes into where I am in my shop right now, where my CNC went down. The controller of my CNC went down. And it's this, it's a standalone, like, closed loop system. And all of a sudden I was sitting there thinking, I was like, yeah, I should have just built my own because I had to be able to fix this really quickly. And instead, the controller was a lot more expensive than I wanted it to be, and whatever, full disclosure, I'm a mildly I'm a mild celebrity in woodworking, and they sent me a new controller because whatever. But
you're Ben Strano.
I'm Ben Strano. So, but I was sitting there looking at like a $500 purchase to get my CNC going again. And this is not to knock CNCs, off-the-shelf CNCs or anything like that, but I am the type of person who likes to build things myself. And then when you do that, you have a full and complete understanding of the thing. And even if you don't want to build your own CNC, I think it's a really good course to look at. It's just to understand the functionality of them and to understand what's going on, so that when something does go wrong, you can identify it quicker. And I watched it. It's really good, very thorough, and it's a cool machine. I could see myself making this even though I have a CNC. But
cool.
Yeah. So I just want to let the audience know about that. I will post a link in the doobly-doo. So, all right. Should we knock out some questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. A lot of these are from the Discord chat. So if you are not on the Discord chat, you should head on over. I'll post the link, of course, or I'll forget and someone will remind me, and then I'll post the link. But Discord is basically like your running group chat text message thing, but it's just woodworkers geeking out. And our Discord happens to be a really cool, relaxed environment. And I honestly dig it. And I'm happy that it's turning out to be a cool place to be. But all right, so this one's from Chuck on Discord. I'm going to answer this too, even though he doesn't ask me, he just asked Mike. If Mike could never hear a particular woodworking question again, what would it be? And what is his definitive answer to that question? You don't have to answer the second part, but.
So this is a question I get a lot. I don't necessarily not want to hear it. It is one that's pretty common when I'm teaching. And it always begins, do you know how such and such does that?
Yes.
And I'm not annoyed at all. What it points to is sort of in the craft, often there's a notion of this is the right way to do something. And depending on who's talking, this is the right way to hone a scraper or cut a dovetail or do anything. So I think what happens is someone learned a way to do something, and I get that. Before coming to the magazine, I read an article by Chris Bexford, so I knew the way to cut a dovetail. And then when I worked on my first article on dovetailing, which was completely different method, I realized, nope, I knew a way to do it. So I think what happens is people have learned a way to do something. When I demonstrate something a little bit different, I think the internal question is, wait, who's right? Was I wrong to do it this way? Is this the right way? Or does Mike not really know what he's talking about? Could be, but really what it points to is, and I try to be super clear, there's a million ways to do every single thing in woodworking. So there are a lot of correct ways to go about doing it. That said, it doesn't mean you can pick any technique you want at random for any process in your build. I think the really important thing to understand is that if a person is doing something in a certain way and it's working for them, it's because it's interrelated to their overall approach to working. So it could be that, is my hand plane sharp enough? It's sharper than a lot of woodworkers I respect. It's not as sharp as Andrew Hunter, but it fits within what I'm expecting from the tool and the things I'm hoping for it to accomplish within that process. So I get that a lot. Do you know how such and such does this? And one of the benefits of working at fine woodworking is that the answer is probably, yep, I know exactly how they do it. So, yeah. What would your answer be, Ben?
Well, my answer, and I think we've talked about it on the show before, but my answer is more podcast specific, but it is, you might notice anytime someone sends in a question that is, should I buy this tool or this tool?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's one of those things that it's like, listen, we can give you our opinion, but that doesn't make it the right opinion for you. And without weighing all of the factors, without knowing every itty bit of like space issues or financial issues or this and knowing the work that you do. And, very specifically, I don't think anyone can ever answer that. And the other thing is, we haven't tried, like some people write in about specific tools and it's like, I haven't used that specific tool. I can't fully speak on it, and even if I've used it, I haven't used it for 3 months. I haven't used it for like tools that I've used for a long time. I have very strong opinions on, but if I haven't used a tool a lot, and this is why I'm always, a lot of reviews that come out right after a tool is released or something like we're always kind of late on reviews at Fine Woodworking because it takes a while to really get a tool, to know a tool.
Right.
So I guess that goes hand in hand, but that's a question that we just don't answer much. And I understand somebody just wanting help. Like, cause I sit there and, I could spend 20 hours thinking about the next router I buy, and I just want somebody to be like, just buy this one.
Yeah. No, yeah, I get that. And it's really tough. I can speak to my personal experience. This is what I have. And this is how much I like it. I can point to a tool review you've run. Here's a review on all this to get
someone I trust.
Yeah, and probably the third thing I can do is if I know someone who has that tool, I can just say, well, this person has that tool. And if I know whether they like it or not, I can offer that. But yeah, it's really difficult to say, hey, there's 10 tools listed in a tool review. Which one should I buy? It's like, we can't answer that with any great sense of authority.
No,
it's best to go to the review itself. So,
yeah. And if we don't have a review on it, we don't have anything to reference. So, that we truly believe, so. All right. This question is from Eric, Driftless Joinery on Discord. And, I love this question. This is indicative of Eric in general. I'm in the process of moving forward with inviting a visiting artist, local area artist in residence program, grant / whatever, to gain access to my shop. I would consider my shop well equipped. I would too, Eric, but I have always worked solo in it. I am constructing a bench for them to use and reserving space for their materials, supplies, etc. Where is the line for you on what is available for unrestricted use and what is hands off for a visiting beginning/intermediate furniture maker over 3 to 6 months?
That is such a loaded, multi-leveled, scary question. Props to you for opening up your shop to someone.
That's Eric. That's Eric.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it would have to be number one, the safety concern. Mm-hmm. I want this person to be safe. So I want to make sure that they're doing the things I'm comfortable having them do it. I also want my tools to be safe. So again, it's like, nope. Can't run paint and nails through my planer or across a joiner or, that kind of stuff. So I would want my shop to be used in the way in which I'm comfortable having it used. I would like the person to be using it safely. That's the primary concern.
For the rest of it though, Mike, let's imagine we're letting someone in the fine woodworking shop then.
Like the home building guys?
Unwillingly. No, I'm just saying if we had like an artist in residence program or something like that and they were going to use the fine woodworking shop, because I know you and your shop, you don't want anyone in there.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know and he did capitalize YOU, for line drawn for you. I think your answer, which you're not wanting to say, is you just wouldn't let him. And I can't imagine. You have a relationship with your shop and everything is in a very particular space and place and blah, blah, blah. True. But if it was the fine woodworking shop, where would that be then?
Again, safe use of the shop, respectful use of the shop, not using anything for inappropriate techniques or inappropriate materials. Empty the damn dust collector when you're done. How about that one? That was for you, Ben.
For the record, in defense of me, not because I am not the problem. Dust collector. I think like chisels are one thing that I would maybe have a second set of chisels for someone.
I would expect people to bring a basic hand tool kit. And
well, if they're beginner, they might not have. I don't know. Yeah, I think hand tools would be the things that I don't know if I have emotional attachments to power tools the way I do you're touching my great-grandfather's draw knife. No.
Yeah. I mean, this sounds maybe overly generous. I think it's both generous and self-serving. I would be more than happy to set someone up with their own hand tool kit and toolbox, and this is yours.
I know that for a fact because when I came on staff, you kind of did that with some things. So yeah. You were like, here's a kit to do some dovetails.
Yeah.
And, so, all right. So second set of hand tools and everything else, just please be safe.
Yep. I think so.
And good on you, Eric. You're a good kid.
Yeah. Good job. That's a tough thing. I mean, access to shops is really tough. It's hard to make that investment when you're just starting out, and to be able to facilitate that for someone that's making a lifelong contribution to their woodworking. Super cool. Good for you.
Yeah. This one's from Bevel Up. This is great. In the magazine, are the action photos on article pictures of actual pieces being built, or do the subjects prepare parts specifically for photos?
Yeah, really, really good question. It depends. If it's someone local and someone super experienced where we know what their processes are and their techniques are super, super sound, we will document a build. Like we will go up, like we didn't make Peter Fallensby make stunt parts for every piece he made for that, that sort of kind of period cupboard he did, which was on the cover. Other things for the most part, but that also wasn't a strict how-to. That was more of kind of a photojournalistic diary of a piece being made.
Yeah.
But when we're doing a project article, we try to identify the really specific lessons we try to convey within that piece, because we can't tell you everything A to Z. So we pick it out and say, oh, this is a great time to talk about half-blind dovetails or inset frame and panel door. So we will pre-identify those situations. And if an author or an editor is flying to an author's shop across the country and you've got 3 days and you obviously can't build a complex piece in 3 days, we will strategically have the author prep parts at various stages. So everything you see 99% of the time is the author actually doing work on a piece, whether that piece is a duplicate of what's in the finished piece or not. I mean, normally we don't greenlight a project article until someone has built something. Someone will send in a picture. Hey, do you want to do an article on this? It's like, we'll build it. And then we can decide. And that's number one, because we get to see what the final product is. And number two, I find this very true for myself. The second time building anything is so much smarter and more efficient. Yeah. That I want the information based on you having built this before. How would you do it now? And I think it makes for better content. And so they'll have a finished piece. They'll typically have a second piece built at various stages. All that choreography is one of the big heavy lifting components of a project article. And we invest a lot of time and effort in that. Our authors invest a lot of time and effort, materials, and prep to make that happen. Yeah. So nice. I love that question, just because that is something that hopefully is just invisible to readers, and that you just get, oh, okay, yeah, this thing starts like this, goes like this, goes like this, and it ends like this. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Next article. It's like, oh, okay, that was like 9 months out of someone's life making that, but that's okay.
All right. Here's an impossible to answer question. Great one from Matcha on Discord. If you had to pick 3 shopmates, alive or dead, who are you picking to learn from? Who are you picking to be inspired by? And who are you picking to pal around with? This is impossible.
Oh, no, I got it.
You have notes.
I do. I have notes.
Gave this to you like 45 minutes ago. Wow, all right.
And I'm sure this is like way incomplete. I can't differentiate between learning from, inspired by, and hanging out with. I am such an incredibly boring person to hang out with. I took that off the list because it's like, I'm not sure any of these people would actually want to like hang with me. It's like, so are we watching Dune 2 again for the 8th time? Because I'm down for that. Steve Latter, Michael Fortune, and Will Neptune.
Wow.
And then Hank Gilpin, Michael Cullen, Yuri Kobayashi, Tim Pullman, Barry Dima.
Barry was on my list. Yep.
Barry, Aspen, Golan, of course, Toshio Date, Andrew Hunter. Yep. All these people are excellent makers, really passionate about what they're doing, and doing really creative things beyond things I would normally do myself. Like Michael Fortune, for instance, he's just going to get you in trouble. He's just going to push you on design, and he's going to make you figure out ways to do super complex things. Hank Gilpin, probably, I mean, you want a crazy guy in your shop who does really good work. You know, I think that combination, and a lot of his work is solid wood furniture with an emphasis on joinery as design. So that's super inspiring. Someone like Yuri Kobayashi, who's just an incredibly creative artist, designer, doing incredible things with wood as a medium. I would just want that person in the corner doing this stuff, and I would pretend to not be eavesdropping on everything they do, but that would be a tremendous inspiration. And Barry, because Barry's always doing like wacky stuff. He's super passionate, and it's not exactly the stuff I would be doing, which is that's really inspiring. So basically people who are good, passionate about what they do, and doing things in a way I wouldn't necessarily do. And then someone like Will Neptune is just the brilliant mad scientist of woodworking. I'd probably put Phil Lowe in that camp. Michael Cullen is, again, really creative, great woodworker, but tremendously
How did I not see
creative.
you adding a 0 to 3?
So, I'll stop there. And Toshio Date would be awesome to be working, but that'd be so intimidating because I just would feel so judged. He would just kind of look over and not say anything and go back to work. I'm like, what? What did I do? What am I? Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't be doing this. So
I quit.
Yeah, and a lot of these people, I actually work with a lot of voices in my head of people that I've worked with, people that I admire. And so a lot of these people are already in my brain as I'm working.
That's interesting. You just said that, and that kind of messed me up because I used to like, oh my gosh, especially when I was working out of the fine woodworking shop, I was just, Mike's going to walk in here at any moment and see me cutting this gappy dovetail. Or like, I remember turning around one time, I was at a sander, and I remember turning around and like Matt Kenny was like looking at something I had on a cart, and I was like, oh no. And you two lived in my head the whole time, and in a good way and in a bad way.
Sure.
And now I just feel like I'm just like so off the beat and whatever that I'm just like, whatever, I don't care. So,
yeah.
That's great. All right.
Yeah,
so
great question.
Yeah. From Andreas. Okay. This one was via email. I recently came across an Instagram video where a woodworker is building a table. In the video, he constructs a rectangular frame, mitered and glued around it, around all corners. Additionally, the frame is reinforced with cross pieces that are pinned and glued. This certainly makes the frame quite stable, but likely prevents any movement in width, right? He then inserts a tabletop approximately 35 to 40 inches wide, made from flat sawn boards glued together into his frame. Furthermore, he glues his tabletop directly to the cross pieces, no battens, cleats with room for movement. I wrote to him expressing my concern that the table might tear apart at the corners due to seasonal movement and possibly at other points as well. He replied he did not see the problem. Am I completely mistaken, or can the table actually survive with this construction? Can I handle the first bit, Mike?
Go for it.
The first rule of Wood Movement Club is we don't talk about Wood Movement Club. If you have been bestowed and blessed by the gods of woodworking to understand the problems of wood movement, you have also been cursed with the knowledge that torments you while scrolling through Instagram, and you just gotta leave it alone. You just gotta keep scrolling. Will it be a problem? Maybe. Is it your problem? Nope.
So I did a little research into this because I cut my teeth woodworking in Southern California near the coast, where the temperature and humidity seasonally was very constant. We learned about wood movement in college when I was studying furniture making, but in my mind, that was just theory. It's like, it's what that old brown furniture people making that stuff did. I don't need to deal with that. So I was doing a lot of kind of quote unquote original work where I figured out how things went, and nothing blew up, nothing came apart. And then when I moved to Connecticut and the heat came on, you heard this pop, ping, pop, and downstairs, and all my furniture started behaving very differently in a climate with extreme humidity and temperature variations. So this person, who, by the way, does fabulous work, a lot of architectural work, interior spaces, a lot of furniture, and there were a number of these frame tables where, if you're asking me, as a typical rule of thumb, I would say that's probably not best practice. However, I took a look to see where this person lived. They live in Brazil, in an area where The average high temperature of the hottest months is like 90 degrees, and the average low temperature or the average high temperature in the coldest months is like 81. So you probably don't have a heating and AC season. Like you probably are not experiencing a lot of movement. And the wood he was using, it was some sort of tropical wood. You just knew this is just very hard, very dense. I don't know what the seasonal movement ratio is for that particular species, but my guess is in the area he's working, it's probably not a problem.
Yeah.
And if you maybe ship that table up to Massachusetts, what's going to happen? So it's probably as humid in Brazil as it's ever going to get in, say, Massachusetts or even Arizona. So probably what's going to happen is those boards, if they move, they're probably going to shrink. And they're probably not going to expand back to the point where they're blowing that mitered frame apart. So in shrinking, they looked like they were half-lapped boards. It was glued.
Yeah.
He's using yellow glue. Is there going to be enough movement there without splitting the boards when they shrink? So, obviously shrinkage is much better than something expanding. So you don't want to do that in Arizona and then ship that table to Brazil because that frame is going to blow up immediately. So, yeah, I think ideally all furniture is local. You just make it from the trees for people where you're at, and just don't ship furniture to Arizona. And that's
so if you live
fine.
in Arizona, do not contact Mike for a commission. He'll just say no, right?
Give me a call. We'll talk.
No, it's really, really, really sound point and a lot of well done research. Props, Mike. I'm sure so many people do it. It can't be a problem for everyone.
Yeah.
It obviously can't be a problem for everyone, but if I'm building something, I am going to account for wood movement because I'd rather do that work than the work of fixing something or having a piece destroyed.
Yeah.
So, all right, one more, and then we will take a quick break. This one is from Jim. I'm planning on incorporating a Kumiko panel in a new project. I've been looking at a lot of Kumiko designs online and in books. When visiting the Metropolitan Museum in NYC, I came across this window in the Japanese section that seems to be filled with a completely unique, irregular Kumiko type lattice work. And I'll try and remember to get the photo in the video. I found the lack of geometric rigidity breathtaking and fascinating. I can find no other examples of irregular Kumiko patterns. Questions. Are you aware of Kumiko that is regular like this? Do you also find it interesting? And are there random or irregular elements that you find add to a design? So for the audio only audience, it looks like, I almost want to say, if you've seen like a Tim Coleman cracked ice pattern, a veneer work or something like that, it looks like a cracked ice kind of thing, but it is, irregular and kind of chaotic and lovely and a complete mystery to me how you would do it. But Mike, what's your take on this Kumiko pattern?
I know that exact little window. It's in a wall. There's a circular cutout in the wall, and this lattice work goes and fills it out. I believe it's of Chinese origin, and it is known as cracked ice lattice work. So,
wow,
you nailed it, Ben. Yeah, so it is, definitely related to the cracked ice marquetry that Tim Coleman was doing. I don't believe it's the same sort of situation as Kumiko, which are individual pieces beveled to fit into a preordained grid, whether it's triangular or rectangular or square. You're right, this is much more free form, and I do think this is, I don't know, probably all individual pieces, but I think it's more akin to like a divided light window, where they're individual pieces, how they're joined with miters or half laps and how much they're carved. I'm not sure, but it's definitely complementary to Kumiko, but I would say it's probably completely different technique in terms of construction, but super, super cool. Yeah. I mean, it's random. It's like, how do you, finding balance within a piece which is not symmetric or repetitive, but still having it hold together. That is a tremendous art to be able to do that. Yeah, I'm floored by that piece. I look at it every time I'm there. What's really cool is it's near this kind of I guess a rock garden with the sand and the stones in there. And then across the little open area is an interior. It's a Chinese interior. So it's all kind of post and beam style construction, but too much sophisticated way. And there's furniture inside that. And what's really, really cool is you look at that, really beautiful, great furniture, great architecture. And then sort of in the atrium area of the Met, there's a recreated room of a Frank Lloyd Wright place with the architecture and the furniture. And you can see there is a huge correlation between the Chinese design of the architecture and furniture and the Frank Lloyd Wright work. And these things are existing in like nearby locations in the same museum, but nothing is referencing the other piece. That drives me crazy. So
do you think that's the work of an individual curator, or is that just happenstance?
I have no idea, but I wish they would talk about that cross-pollination and kind of see, it's like nothing comes from the ether. Everything is influenced by something else. And I think that would be a really, really good discussion.
Yeah.
But, anyway, yeah. So cracked ice lattice work. So Tim Coleman, was it Tim Coleman? Someone else also did sort of a...
David Lamb has done some, and he did a black ice thing that was on the back cover.
That's right.
And then Craig Thibodeau's doing a crazy cracked ice marquetry thing that I am sure you touch one panel and all of a sudden, it turns into a puzzle.
Yep.
But there's some very cool cracked ice. So you're basically, if that lattice work is a cracked ice thing, you're looking for inspiration for different patterns like that. You could probably draw that pattern, that inspiration from other places other than that lattice work, then you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. If you just Google cracked ice lattice, a lot of different furniture pieces come up. Sometimes it's worked into the piece itself. It could be the back of a chair. It could be panels within a door. You'll start to see it.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah. All right. There's your answer. Google cracked ice lattice, and it's all Chinese furniture that is just wild.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Let's take a break.
Okay.
Melbourne Tool Company is an Australian outfit who make hand tools that are simple, accurate, and accessible. Their tools are easy to set up and intuitive to use. Shop Talk listeners can get early access to their Black Friday deal. Get 15% off the price of individual tools by using the code FINE15EARLY. Only on melbournetool.com.
All right, Mike, do you have a tool or a technique or a...
Yeah, super, super short. Favorite techniques of all time. They both have to do with doing accurate work, and I won't go into too much about it, but I think the one primary technique, if you want to do really, really precise work, is to have an understanding of what's really important to get right and what's not important to get right within a piece. We all make the mistake of treating every single aspect of a piece with equal import and give it equal effort. However, in doing that, we spend a lot of time being exact where we don't need to be, and possibly missing out or having the bandwidth left to really focus on what does count. So figure out what's important and what's not so important. And that's going to make you a better woodworker, and it's going to make your work quicker, more enjoyable, and more accurate.
So you're saying stop dovetailing the backs of drawers.
No, dovetail the backs of drawers. Right. For instance, understand the difference between equal and exact.
Yeah.
And why one of those is super important, the other one is not.
Yeah. I'm going to riff on that with mine.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Stop letting principles slow you down and affect your woodworking, i.e., binding on an ukulele, I want all wood, right? And I want all domestic woods and sustainable woods. And I've been doing binding with a composite, sustainable, domestic thing that I think has been making it way harder than it needs to be. And binding is just, it's a real source of frustration for me. And I realize I have a couple of ukuleles right in front of me right now, and at one point, one or two of these was done with black plastic binding, and I don't know which ones it was, and I can't tell you. It could be that one, it could be that one, and I realized, you know what, your skills are not up to the level that it needs to be right now, but you need to get through this. So why don't you make it a hair easier on yourself and use plastic binding on this? And yeah, eventually your principles of sustainable, blah, 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 and, aesthetics and all of those things that you're striving towards nailing can have their day, but it ain't today. Mm-hmm. So I went with plastic binding, and it was just like, oh, this is so much easier, and now I can move on. Yeah. So, Mike, I believe you were saying pick your battles, and or a part of that is yours wasn't as simple as pick your battles. Yours was know what's important and what's not, and mine is a riff on that of pick your battles. Yeah. If at the end of the day I can't tell which one's plastic, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that kind of touches on the notion of, what constitutes fine. And are these things that are carved in stone in terms of this is what you have to do? Or are those things that are somewhat random and arbitrary goals that you're putting ahead of yourself? And are they getting in the way of doing fine work, or are they part of doing fine work? So I think that's a really important thing.
Arbitrary goals that you're putting ahead of yourself. Yeah. So this is an arbitrary goal that I put ahead of my skill set.
Yeah. And
I haven't been able to hit it. And it's been a real issue for me. Like even a mental block issue. So yeah, sorry. What you putting those words together just kind of cemented my thoughts. Yeah.
Right on. This has been a meaningful conversation.
All right. Let's, do you want to do the eyesight one?
Sure. I think it touches on important aspects of staying active in the craft.
It's totally important. Yeah. I didn't know. Yeah. All right. So this one's from Thomas. My dad is an avid woodworker and retired about a year ago, and I'm helping him with a bucket list project of his, a European style workbench that I believe he modeled after Frank Claus's. We're pretty deep into the project and to the point of making the large dovetails on the end caps and tail vise. Our challenge right now is he is suffering from macular degeneration, and while he can overall see all right in day-to-day life, small details such as scribe line are difficult to see. We are using tricks such as blue tape, headlamps, bench lights, and magnifiers, and he has ordered some fancy glasses, but it remains a challenge. I'm happy to help and enjoy our time together in the shop, but I also want him to feel like this has been his achievement, so I avoid helping to the point of doing things for him. Also, once it's done, I want him to feel equipped to make more pieces with his snazzy workbench once he's moved it to his shop. Thomas, you're You're the best son ever. I think we should try double or tripling layers of blue tape so that there's a thicker ledge to feel against. But other than that, I'm out of fresh ideas. What do y'all think?
Yeah, great question. And, this is framed out of concern for his father and his ability to stay active in the craft and work in the shop and, worrying about taking on too much of the task to take away from that sense of autonomy and accomplishment by the other person. I would say, building a shop, putting a shop together is different than working in a shop. So helping to make a workbench is awesome, really, really great. But then using the workbench, I think your dad is going to find a way to work within the craft that can accommodate wherever he's at. And, I'm certainly at the point of been woodworking long enough where, I think that notion of diminishing capabilities is a real thing, and it is a thing for a lot of people. And I think that your techniques do evolve over time to accommodate that. I think, any sort of magnification and more light, light is always good. You've already kind of nailed the types of things that I think are really important. And then I think it depends on the type of work you're doing. James Krenov, very late in life, he was basically blind, when it came to, the typical eyesight you would expect to have when you're woodworking. And he was still making hand planes, I think just up until the very end, before when he stopped woodworking. So that was something that he knew, he internalized. He kind of knew how to make a hand plane, with his eyes closed, like literally. So, whether it's carving, whether it's different kind of work that you can be doing, I think there's something out there. And speaking of, there are literally blind woodworkers I know who do wood turning. And I think the bottom line is it's a craft. If you're passionate about it, you're going to figure out a way to get something done or figure out things you can be doing that allow you, that continued access to the craft. So, yeah, it's we all figure out a way to do it. I kind of think that I look at the stuff I made like when I was in college. I'm definitely a much better woodworker now in terms of engineering my way through a project, but I was looking at joinery and stuff. It's like, dude, how'd you do that so accurately when you didn't even know what you were doing? So it's kind of, I like to think that I'm better and more accurate, but I think I do also invest a lot more effort in the setup, in the understanding, in the process to get me to those same results.
You just, again, you just did it, I think, where like, especially the way that you work, not to kiss up to my boss, but the way that you work is really about the setups and, guaranteeing accuracy because of well thought out and properly set up setups. And I think that's where the blue tape thing came from. I think that's where so much of your table saw joinery comes from. And it's funny because I think, you talking about your old work where it was probably just a matter of persistence and aggravation and nailing it eventually. Now you're always trying to guarantee accuracy and nailing it beforehand, before cutting that wood. And it's a different way of looking at it. So I hate to say, Thomas, is maybe check out some of Mike's books and videos and stuff like that about joinery or the foundations class. I have been in many a shop watching many a phenomenal woodworker and wish that they would watch some of Mike's techniques because they always get there, but I feel like sometimes there's more frustration than there needs to be in the process. And so podcasting as though I'm not here with Mike, I think Mike's techniques are perfect for that kind of issue, because it is about the setup. It is about guaranteeing accuracy before anything is done. I will say, if you're going to be doubling or tripling layers of tape, just cut the whole roll in half and then peel them off, however thick you need them. I've done that for a lip, for referencing glue ups on. If you don't want a piece to move around, I just cut through, a 1/4 of an inch of tape, and then I can just pull off however thick of a ledge I want. So that's something to look at. I have become, my eyes in the past year have been, not worryingly so, but noticeably declining. And, I've been to the eye doctor. Don't worry, people. I have found I live in the shop basically with the magnifying headset on, and that's just the way it is. Again, more light. Like Thomas, you've got all the right thoughts. Also, just one note: I don't think your dad is going to. If your dad's like my dad, or if your dad's like me as a father, my dad loves it when I'm better at something than him. And I love it when my son is better at something than me. And I don't think I would take it as a negative if my kid helped me get through something, because they were just better at it. So, I mean, to each their own. I'm sure you know your father better than I do, Thomas. But yeah, you're a good son, Thomas.
Yep.
So, all right, we got time for one more, and this one we're gonna go back to. We're going to go back to Bevel Up. How long and how many iterations did your shops go through before you settled on your current layout? I'm asking this because I'm curious, Mike.
I think like moving into any shop space, there's probably going to be a short duration of fine-tuning what that is. And then you just kind of settle into it. Like you get the best workflow you can. And then the more you work in it, the more that informs what your workflow is. I would say right now, I went through maybe say 2 or 3 tweaks when I first set up the shop, but that was 1, 2, 3, that's probably like the 4th shop I'd been in. So I kind of knew how I wanted it to function.
Okay.
I would say like getting a new machine or a bigger workbench or something like that that's going to disrupt the flow, that would probably cause me to kind of tweak things at that point. But it's pretty stable. You've done some rearranging in your shop. And I think
you walked in here the other day and you're like, what happened?
Yeah. So I think that maybe had to do with the fact that you're shifting focus from like regular general woodworking to instrument making.
Yeah, I feel like when I set up the shop, I thought I was going to make chairs and wooden bowls, and I had a big 8-inch joiner and all sorts of stuff, and my everyday work from home environment was not in here either, which honestly takes up a chunk of real estate. So I've gone through like 3 real, like, might as well just pull everything out and change things around, iterations of my shop. And now I feel like, okay, now I'm probably there, but there was, if you don't, like, you knew the work that you were going to do when you built your shop, and you were able to kind of, I don't know if I've seen drastic changes even from before my time at the magazine. It's been fairly set in stone when you were working out of it and then you redid the building, right?
Right.
And then
that was the big change.
Yeah. So then when you move back in, it was kind of how it is, right?
Yeah, with some kind of tweaks within the first month of being, in the kind of the rehab space. Went through a couple of things. If you look at, I think the opener on the article I had done on rehabbing my shop, I think my table saw was near the kind of old roll-up doors facing in, and now it's closer to the back facing to the front. So it's like, okay, yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. So if you know the type of work you're going to do, I think it's a lot easier to nail it. For me, it's been told, like I needed a CNC in here. So all of a sudden, whoop, there goes that space. I need a 3D printing nook. There goes that space. I need a work from home nook. There goes that space. I can't have a big joiner anymore. There are times it stinks, right? But I just can't do that. I've created like this weird island in the middle of my shop now, where a lot of stuff happens, but it's just, it's been 3 solid changes. And now when I think about the fine woodworking shop, we had an initial setup, and then we worked out of there for like maybe 2 months. And all of a sudden it was like, none of this stuff is placed where it's supposed to be. And we moved everything, it seems like. And just maybe a month ago, I started moving a few more things, and it just, I think of like, the Constitution's a living document in theory. Shops are living things that, as you change as a woodworker or as a person, even, your shop is going to need to change as well. So Bevel Up, I know, is dealing with, he's doing a lot of commission work. He's going pro and in a small shop. And I think this is a growth period for him. So best of luck.
Yeah, good luck. It's always fun. Changing your shop around means you're probably changing your processes or focus or machining around too, and all those are cool things. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? We had a staff meeting one day, and I moved my garbage can like half an hour before from like 8 feet. And all of a sudden, like we were talking, I was like, I just kept turning around because I was looking in the back of me in the Zoom thing. And I was like, maybe that workbench should extend out this far. And it's like, it's such a slippery slope. And I said, I moved my garbage can, and now I'm like thinking about redoing that part of my shop. And you're like, don't move the garbage can. Don't move anything. Because it is a slippery slope where, especially for me, I'm always like just fixated on efficiency to the point where I do less work because I'm spending all my time trying to work on efficiencies. But, yeah. It's just going to happen. Bevel Up. All right.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, and to that note, I have a kind of a recycling bin, plastic bin, sitting off to the side of my table saw. So as offcuts come off and they're too small to go into the scrap bin, they go into this little bin. And I had to move it 4 inches out from the table saw, so it was a little bit further out from the outhang, so I could, when I had these offcuts on all these parts I was cutting, I could reach over and drop it straight down, and it wouldn't go to the outside of the bin. So like efficiencies, it's like, nope, move it out. Nope, 1 more inch. Okay, right there. So
that's the table saw equivalent of Michael Fortune's. He uses water softener salt bags hanging off the back of his bandsaw.
So
that the pieces just fall off right into the bag, and then he can bring them into the wood stove.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I use chicken bags.
Michael Fortune.
Feed bags.
He's on my list.
There you go. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Circle back. All right. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, my pleasure.
Well, that does it for this episode of Shop Talk Live. If you're an Unlimited member, check out the live stream event Monday, December 2nd. Get your preview of issue number 315. And if you're watching on YouTube, please click that thumbs up button. A 5-star review on iTunes is always a welcome thing. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Thanks for listening.